Confronting the legacy. Why is it difficult for white Americans to reconcile with the nation's racist foundations? A podcast exploring the psychological, sociological, cultural, and political dynamics behind resistance to acknowledging U.S. racism facing the past. Unpacking white Americans struggle with U.S. racist foundations. Welcome to Confronting the Legacy, the podcast where we dive deep into the roots and realities of American history and its impact on today's society. I'm your host, DFG, the man with the golden voice, the lady's choice, smooth as a Rolls Royce. And in this first episode, we explore a crucial question. Why do many white Americans have a hard time reconciling with the United States having racist underpinnings? Segment 1, setting the stage to begin. Let's provide some context. The United States has a long and painful history of institutional racism, from slavery and Jim Crow laws to redlining and discriminatory immigration practices. These systems have privileged white Americans while oppressing people of color, particularly Black and Indigenous communities. Although these injustices may seem like distant history, their consequences are woven into today's realities, shaping disparities in wealth, education, health, and criminal justice. Segment 2, Historical Amnesia and American Mythology. One major reason white Americans struggle to acknowledge the nation's racist roots is the fading public memory of these injustices. As time passes, stories of oppression are softened or erased from family narratives, pop culture, and school curricula. Instead, many Americans embrace narratives of progress or exceptionalism, believing the nation has moved beyond its troubled past. This collective amnesia encourages defensiveness and detachment from the realities of racial injustice, making calls for racial reckoning feel less urgent and legitimate. Segment 3, Psychological Defenses, Understanding the Human Mind. Diving deeper, psychological mechanisms play a significant role. Cognitive dissonance, the discomfort of holding conflicting beliefs, often surfaces when individuals are faced with evidence of systemic racism. Admitting to the racist foundations of the U.S. can threaten one's self-image and sense of belonging. Many cope by adopting colorblind ideologies, denying the relevance of race altogether, or by rationalizing historical injustices as isolated events. Segment 4, Sociological Conditioning and Cultural Narrative. Socialization also shapes perspectives. From a young age, white Americans are often exposed to cultural stories that minimize or justify racial inequalities. School lessons may gloss over uncomfortable truths, while popular media tends to highlight redemption arcs or ignore the enduring effects of racism. These narratives reinforce a worldview that distances individuals from responsibility or complicity, perpetuating resistance to meaningful acknowledgement. Segment 5, Political Polarization and Media Framing. In recent years, the teaching of racial history in schools has become a political battleground. There's increasing polarization over how topics like slavery, segregation, and ongoing discrimination should be addressed. According to the Pew Research Center, deep divisions exist along racial and partisan lines regarding the nation's racial legacy and how it should be taught or remediated. Media framing further amplifies these divides, often presenting conversations about race as contentious or threatening the national identity. Segment 6, Real-World Implications and the Path Forward. All these dynamic psychological defenses, sociological conditioning, cultural narratives, and political polarization combine to make it challenging for many white Americans to confront and reconcile with the country's racist underpinnings. Understanding these factors is essential for promoting honest dialogue, effective education, and genuine. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Confronting the Legacy. In the coming weeks, we'll continue to unpack these complex issues, bringing together expert insights, historical analysis, and real-world stories. Stay tuned as we strive to understand not just the past, but how it shapes our present and our future.